Is my favorite part of hosting. Time to introduce the speaker who will knock it out the park. So get ready. You ready? All right. Senior Minister, Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Baltimore. Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson has frequently been referred to as a Renaissance man. One look at his resume and the reason becomes clear. As a lifelong learner with a passion for self-development, personal transformation, transmutation, and self-awakening, he lives his bliss as a teacher, mentor, speaker, minister, and so much more. His mission is to live, move, and be an active, which is an acronym, authentic, compassionate, transparent, inspired, vibrant, and empowered member of society who serves to educate, elucidate, emancipate, awaken, and empower people and communities. Reverend Ray, come on and do it.
Muchas gracias.
De nada.
Oh, tú hablas español.
Sí.
Ah.
Un poquito. Un poquito.
Un poquito.
Un poquito.
Pequeño. So, everybody, it is the end of January 2021. So, the theme of timeless wisdom and evolutionary vision now ends for the month, but ideally we're going to continue this idea. We're continuing in this consciousness, especially here at CSL Greater Baltimore, where we're talking about living the vision. But today we're going to push the envelope just a smidge. So today we're talking about, we remember that it is all God. You got that, right? Pause. Take that in again. We remember it is all God. As we advance through our year and continue allowing the evolutionary impulse of spirit to work through us and our communities, we do so remembering and committing to the upward journey of divine unfoldment. And we do so with a kind of eagle-eye vision from above. You got that? Because there's a little quiz coming up. So get your fingers ready to type. I want to know, other than being superheroes, what is this image, what do they have in common? It's like Sesame Street. One of these things, well, they all belong here. But what do they have in common? Come on, type fast. What do they have in common? Other than superheroes. That's not the answer. What do they have in common? In 3.
Above.
Above.
They're surveying on high.
Who said that?
Dana.
Okay, there you go, Dana. So yes.
Raymont Anderson.
Y'all got jokes.
That was Jim.
Thank you, Jim. So as Dana has pointed out, all of them are standing, observing, surveying from above. Now, we could ask why, but we understand why. Because what they are serving to do is they need to see the expanse of what they are surveying. They need to be able to see the expanse of the city. Because if they're only, in the Batcave or only in the office, they're only going to be able to see that far. So we're talking about, however, where are we looking from or looking to? How is your eyesight? We all may remember some version of this. Cover your left eye and tell me, what do you see on line 3? I see an F, a Q, and an M. Oh, okay. Well, how is your eyesight? Okay. You need braces. But beyond your eyesight, how is your insight?
Oh, God.
Okay, pause and take that in for a second. Because if we're talking about looking from above, unlike Batman, Spider-Man, Daredevil, etc., they were using their eyesight to survey. There's a deeper level, using that inner eye. What is your insight revealing to you? And even greater than that is, how's your vision? Because your vision is the spirit, the truth, the essence of who and what you are, speaking to, through, and as you. Right? So beyond what your eyesight says, you can have, quote unquote, 20/20 vision to be able to see greater expanses of what is possible and what infinite potentiality is demonstrating to and through and as you, if you are in alignment. Right? You got that, right? Okay, there might be a quiz coming up again, so be ready. Science of Mind says, true liberty comes only through true harmony. True harmony only through true unity. And true unity can only come through the conscious realization that we are one with God. Now that one with is not like, Tracy, you want me to go with you to El Azteca? Because that's me accompanying you. And she could say, no, I will go alone. This with, there is no with that is separate from, right? So you can't do something separate from God. No matter what you do, no matter where you go, God is always present. Now the question is your eyesight, your insight, and your vision recognizing that presence that is moving in, through, as, with, around, above, below you? Because you can go and think you are alone. You can be acting and believe that you are acting alone. You can believe that, wherefore dost thou goeth, my God? You are not here. Wherefore art thou? I have looked and I cannot find. Well, because your eyesight, your insight, and your vision is not aligned with the truth. True liberty, true freedom comes only through true harmony, through alignment. True alignment or harmony through true unity in recognizing that there is only one. And true oneness can only come through the conscious realization that that which God is and that which you are is one. Breathe and take that in. Joel Goldsmith says, we must stop making graven images in our mind. Stop picturing what God is like and trust the unformed invisible which penetrates and interpenetrates all beingness. See, what we tend to do is we anthropomorphize God. We create a graven image of God being somewhere, something, someone, somewhere else. Somewhere there is this God who I pray to, and that being I pray to doesn't respond to me. Someday I'll pray and maybe it will answer. Right? That graven image. And as long as we are doing that, then that liberty, that harmony, that oneness, that unity, it's going to be missing because we are missing the mark. We are missing the point. We are praying to some image, some graven thing that is not real. If we want to, then we have to recognize that that which it is, that which is beyond shape, beyond form, beyond name, beyond labels, is the very thing that is moving in, through, and as all that we are. Breathe and take that in, because that's once again a reminder. That which God is, you are. Pause. This past Wednesday, during our Science of Mind exploration group, a gentleman by the name of Michael mentioned that I talked about the three faces of God whenever, several months ago, weeks ago, whenever. But I'm going to do it again, Michael, just because you reminded me of it. So I'm going to bring it back, but I'm bringing it back from a different point of view this time. We're going to talk about the three faces of God via Spider-Man, because it's what I do, Jim. Ha, ha, ha. So, via Spider-Man. Do you speak to Spider-Man? When do I speak to myself? Now, once again, we're talking about God. So, do you speak to God? When do I speak to that which is God as myself? When do I speak to it? Do you speak about Spider-Man? Do you speak about God? When do I speak about that which God is as myself? When do I speak about it? Okay, got those? When do I speak to it? When do I speak about it? And then lastly, do you speak as Spider-Man? Do you speak as God? When do I speak as the truth of myself? 3 ways of referencing this. And all of them are valid and have their placement as long as we are recognizing that all 3 of these are things we do. There's only one of me. Maybe I should use Tracy because Tracy does this more. There's only one of Tracy. Tracy talks to herself.
Yeah.
Tracy talks about herself.
Well.
And there are times that Tracy is speaking as herself.
Yeah.
And there are times when Tracy and I will go to New York and we're at a restaurant and she'll go to the restroom and she'll say, Rev, can you order ... for me? And in that moment, I am speaking as her. I'm speaking on behalf of her. When do we speak on behalf of truth? On behalf of harmony and liberty and freedom and power? Right? So all 3 of these are valid. But once again, we have to be moving in this state of alignment. Now, spiritual mind treatment. We know that in spiritual mind treatment, or maybe we don't, that in spiritual mind treatment, we do this. Did you know that? Because there is one power and one presence, and it is infinite, eternal, and ever-expanding consciousness. That is me talking about it. My word is now made flesh and demonstrates as answered prayer. That's me talking as it. And the entire treatment is, in essence, me talking to it. Because what I am doing is placing into consciousness, into the law. I am speaking this. I am knowing this into the law. Now, once again, be very clear. There is no it separate from us. So the very fact that I am speaking right now, I am speaking through God, about God, to God, with God, as God. Like it's all only one. There is only ever one conversation with Spirit speaking to itself, through itself, about itself, by itself. When God is looking, when you are looking at a rose, it is God looking at itself. When Robert is playing music, that is God engaged in playing on itself in the form of piano, resonating this music, which is God showing up as this musical piece called I Am Willing in the key of D. It's all God. When Diane is treating or doing an in-service prayer or a practice or a pre-service meditation, it's all God meditating, all God breathing, all God inviting, all God leading, all God sharing. It is all God. Breathe. John O'Donohue, said, awaken your spirit to adventure. Hold nothing back. Learn to find ease in risk. Soon you will be home in a new rhythm, for your soul senses the world that awaits you. Now pause, because now I'm going to talk about Dana from our Wednesday night class. Because 2 or 3 Wednesdays ago, Dana read a passage in the Science of Mind textbook where Holmes said to fling. The one who flings their thought, consciousness, and word, knowing that it will respond accordingly. Knowing that it is responding accordingly. It's not just toss it, it's to fling it. Awaken your spirit to adventure. Hold nothing back. Hold nothing back. Love without abandon. Don't hold back. Speak unapologetically. Don't hold back. Be who and what you are. Don't hold back. Play and love and run and vision and be. Don't hold back. Learn to find ease in risk. And soon you will be home in a new rhythm. You are now demonstrating this willingness to align in this new rhythm. For your soul senses the world that awaits you, a world that works for all. Now, there are times in our lives when we, like Bruce Lee, are surrounded by the things that we fear. We are surrounded by the enemy, quote unquote. We are surrounded by trauma, quote unquote. We are surrounded by a great many things. Are we able to stand in the midst of it and be calm? Are we able to stand in the midst of it and be able to see from the periphery the expanse of it all, balance it, harmonize with it, and then move accordingly? So that we move, and in the way that we move, that which we one time feared now moves and fears us. You get what I'm saying? So that when we say, but Reverend Ray, I can't start my own business. Why not? Because, what if I fail? Well, what if your fear of failure was afraid of you? What if your fear of illness was so afraid of you that it dared not knock on your door? And so it's not knocking. That means only infinite health and well-being can be what you experience. What if your worries were afraid that you would see them for what they are so they don't show up? What if your insecurities were afraid of you because they recognize how powerful you are? That in the same way that when Yeshua was in the desert and said, look, dude, Satan, father of lies, that which is untrue, get thee behind me, for where I stand and where I see not looking above, but I see from above. I see exactly what you are, and I know that you are not worth my time. You are not worth my investment. And so that which is untrue, that which is simply worries and fears, must recede back into the nothingness from whence it came. What if we dared to risk and fling our consciousness and our truth and our willingness into the law with such knowingness that it must come back to us a billionfold? So much, in fact, that we don't even have a cup that runneth over anymore, because the very beingness that we are is infinite abundance, always overflowing. We are no longer simply a well, but we are the wellness from which all that Spirit is ever pouring into and through and as our life.
Deep.
Tracy said deep. Reverend Masando Hiraoka said, underneath our plans, underneath our need for control, there is a deeper life waiting to emerge. That deeper life is the life of Spirit wanting to, Spirit moving through, Spirit breathing itself, Spirit thinking itself, that one life living itself. Well, why is it waiting to emerge? Because we are praying to some graven image, because our focus is on our worries and insecurities and fears, and because God does not, Spirit does not, life does not simply move through us, because then that makes us automaton. We are robots. I can only do what I am told to do. We are now Pinocchio. Tracy's laughing at me. We are like Pinocchio that can only move because of the strings that are being pulled. So life is always in this moment, while we are in that malalignment, that unwillingness, it is waiting to emerge. It is like Robert has this idea, this song that wants to be played, and yet he does not sit down to the piano.
Ooh.
So there is a deeper song, a deeper piece of music waiting to emerge through his hands, his fingers, his arms, his posture, into the keys, into the strings, into the vibration, which moves into the air, which then moves into the ears and the feeling of those who listen. In essence, what is being played is now changing the very vibration of life itself. And until it is played, it is simply waiting to be played, waiting to emerge. What vision, what thing is Spirit wanting to birth in us that we are inhibiting.
Ouch.
Now, let's talk a little bit about this inhibiting thing. We are all pretty much familiar with this sport called football. Football. And depending on where you are in the game, your focus is on a particular thing. Either you are specifically focused on the one person that is directly in front of you, or you may be in a line and you are focusing on the backside of someone who's right in front of you, or the opponent who is across from, depending on where your focus is. Depending on where you are, you may be off at the sideline. You can see both groups facing one another. You may be further up and away where you can now see the referees and the lines on the field from a different vantage point. You may be even further where you can now see not only the entire field and can move your focus accordingly, but you can see the others who are also observing. So the goal, the idea is, when and how do we consciously shift to be able to see from above? Not just to see the opponent, not just to see the obstacle, but to expand and rise above so that we now see the entirety of the game from a completely different vantage point. And it is from this new vantage point that there is a new possible willingness and a new possible freedom that comes from seeing it from this point of view now. Because otherwise, if we are only able to see the opponent, the enemy, the obstacle, then what we are going to end up doing is always being tackled by it. Because we are only able to see it from that specific point of view. There's an African proverb that says, when the enemy within does not exist, neither does the enemy outside. When there is no enemy within, then the enemy outside can do you no harm. When Yeshua knew that there was no lie within him, then the Satan, the liar, the illusion was not able to affect him, because when there is no lie within me, then any lie outside of me can do me no harm, because I only resonate with truth. Now let's pause for a second, because there are times when we are so caught up in the trauma and the drama that we are constantly getting knocked down or sacked. Pow! Let me tell you a little story about when I was in prac training. There was a certain practitioner who was guiding the practice at this particular time, Diane Stewart Hamlin. And I'm cutting the story short, so just for the point. And she asked a question, and I spoke about the recording, and she said, tell me more. Well, there's a recording in the trunk, in the basement, in the attic, and play the records and the 8-track tapes. And the trauma of it caused me to relive to such a degree that I broke into tears. So after Diane was like, Ray, calm down. It's okay. We got you. It's okay. And I breathed, and she was like, okay, I got a question for you. Why do you still have the recordings? So in her infinite wisdom in that moment, she wasn't in the attic or basement with me. She wasn't looking in the trunk with me like, oh, you still got 8-tracks, bro. Why you got, don't nobody play 8-tracks, no. Like, she wasn't in there with me. She was looking from a vantage point where she saw not just what I was feeling, not just what I was looking at, but she saw the entire thing playing out to a degree where she was able to pause and say, you do know you can make a different choice and not even possess them at all. You can completely eliminate them so that there is not even an option of replaying them. In other words, you get to choose a new song. You get to choose a new heaven and a new earth where you are now living and existing from. What? Since that time, Ray has been a very different person. To Diane, I am eternally grateful for that. Because for however many years, it was, oh, listen here. This is WWJJ77666. Misery Radio all day. Today we're listening to an oldie but a goodie. I am so miserable. Miserable I am. Everything in my life goes wrong. Oh gosh, oh gee. Like, she was like, look, dude, throw the record out the window. Put a different record on. Put the record of willingness on. Put the record of infinite power and possibility on. Put the record of, and matter of fact, you know what? Get rid of the records altogether. Have your own song that is internally being sung. That way you can tune in, tap in to the infinite wellspring of the universe. Let the stars be your symphony, that they are forever playing your song. Let the grass be the chorus, that when you walk by, they are humming and clapping and praising. Does it not say in the Bible that when we will not praise and speak out, that the very rocks themselves will cry out and recognize the glory of creation? Have that as your song. So what if we all did that though? What if we all recognized in this moment that we need not worry about this idea of looking to heaven? Because if I were to say, let us look heavenward, the average person is going to look up. Because we're looking to the heavens. Whether that's heavens as in the sky or heavens as in heaven. You know, when you die, you go to heaven. Like we think it's above us. But Luke says, Luke 17:21, you won't be able to say, here it is, or look, it's over there. For the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven, is already within you. Do we not say in Science of Mind, in our we believe that heaven is within us, it is a state of consciousness, and that we will recognize and live from that state of consciousness when we know and understand that? So what if that's our invitation? To not look heavenward, but turn our gaze heavenward. Remember, how is your eyesight, your insight, and your vision? So turn your gaze within and find the place where that which God is all there is as you. That the infinite power and presence of life itself is you. That when you see a problem, you don't see it as it stares in your face. You are able to rise above and have greater expansive vision, that you are seeing all of the possible parameters of it. And because you can see all possible parameters, it no longer affects you the way that it once did. The programming of it no longer affects you the way that it once did. The trauma of it no longer affects you the way that it once did. Get thee behind me, lack and scarcity. Get thee behind me, pain and illness. Get thee behind me, white supremacy, racism, sexism, homophobia. Get thee behind me, because I see and understand the truth of my being. I see because I have greater expansive vision, not because I simply see God, but I see from the vantage point of God, that when I pray as God prays. When I meditate as God meditates. When I cook, it is God cooking. When I shop, it is God shopping. So that I see that whatever is going on externally to me, I see it for what it is. It is an experience. It is a condition. It may not necessarily need to be the truth of my being, because there is a greater truth. The infinite I am that I am ever becoming. That truth, eternal, infinite, and ever expanding. And it cannot be tarnished. It does not age. It does not crumble or weaken. The cold does not affect it. Heat does not affect it. Money does not affect it. It is the truth of your being, and it is constant and forever. Are we willing to rise to that? Are we willing to move into that? Are we willing to let that be the new earth and new heaven that we now occupy? Rumi said, everything in the universe is within you. Ask all of yourself. Ask all from yourself. Everything is already within. Now, oftentimes people refer to God within us. And they refer to God like God is a raisin in a bun. Nope. God is not in us like a raisin in a bun. God is within us like an atom and a molecule and a quantum particle and wave is in every blood cell. It is in every muscle fiber, every bone, every hair, every part of us. We cannot separate these atoms from us. They are the very thing that we are. And what spirit is that which it is. Because an atom can be seen, spirit cannot. So even the atom is infused with life and God and mind and power. So what it is that is within you is this ever-present, explosive force of love and joy and possibility and creation and willingness. You are heaven made flesh. You are the very word given form. What are you doing with it is the question. Carolyn May says, you must be willing to incarnate your theology and illuminate the world around you. Pause and take that in. You must be willing to incarnate your theology and illuminate the world around you. That devotion will give you the will to follow through on all you are guided to do, say, and become in this life. When we embody it, when we become it, when we live it to such a degree that we are now illuminating the world around us, that we are shining. Let me go back one slide. We are shining like the Phoenix Force from the X-Men. We are shining. It is bursting forth when we are willing to illuminate the world around us, and that our life is our devotion. Then we are guided in what we do, what we say, how we show up, how we live this life, how we walk the walk. This week's practice, ask yourself, feel free to have conversation as well, but ask yourself, journal about, where do I tend to look at life's experiences? What is my default vantage point? When I'm looking at experiences, where, like, and use the football player example. When I look at life's experiences, do I look at it like the enemy right across from me ready to knock me down and tackle me? Do I see it from the stadium? Do I see it from the drone above that sees the entire stadium and the expanse around the stadium because it is that high? What is my vantage point? What is my practice of being able to step back, to go deeper in order to assess this experience? Because if I'm only looking at it as a one, like it's only that, then that's all I'm going to see. My lack of money is all I'm going to see is lack of money. Lack of health is all I'm going to see is lack of health. Problems and issues and dramas, the recording of the past, it's all I'm going to see, it's all I'm going to hear, it's all I'm going to know. So what is my practice of stepping back, pause, of going deeper so that I can assess the experience? What can I do today to begin to see a perceived problem from several angles, and in so doing, see a possible solution, or two solutions, or four? What can I do today to begin to perceive that this problem really isn't a problem, because I am able to see it from several different angles? And because I can see it from all possible angles, then the very solution that must already be present avails itself.
Change my perspective.
Change your perspective. And then lastly, have a conversation and explore a situation or experience and offer different vantage points to simply stretch and begin to see things from above. So for example, suppose Tracy and I are having a conversation and Tracy says, Doc, name something that is a situation or experience. And I say, situation or experience. My second son, his son, Sean, is currently experiencing a medical issue where he's had to have 3 blood transfusions within the past 5 days. So that's a situation and an experience, and it causes me to feel a certain thing. And Tracy says, okay, so what are possible vantage points that we can look at this? Because, like, I'm not worried because I trust and know, and I am praying for Sean daily, so I'm good, and I'm trusting how Gar is and the family, so they're good. So, right? But let's pretend, let's say that I'm worried. And Tracy says, okay, different vantage points. Let's look at this from a variety of possibles, just to stretch, not specifically to say, you have to change this and do this. No. Just simply to stretch the mind, to stretch the willingness, to stretch the consciousness to be able to breathe a little easier, to know from a little bit higher, to recognize from a little bit, to speak from a little bit, to just elevate a little, just to stretch a little bit more. And simply that. Today's declaration or affirmation, I'll read it first and then together. I allow the divine to unfold through me by seeing as God sees. Together, I allow the divine to unfold through me by seeing as God sees. And we breathe our closing benediction, simply knowing and recognizing that which we are is infinite spirit. That when we see as God sees. When we speak as God speaks. What we feel is God feeling, and how we serve is God serving. So in this moment, as this Sunday service comes to a close, we know that the manner in which we show up as service made flesh continues. The way we communicate with our family is how we serve. The manner in which we cook dinner is how we serve. The manner in which we create music and meditation and prayer. The way we balance our checkbook. The way we simply hold the door open for another incarnation of God. That it's all service. It is all of the ways that God is showing itself to itself, about itself, by itself. All of the ways that love loves itself. And that's exactly who and what we are in this moment. So recognizing this, I surrendered into the law because I know it is good, I know it is done, I know it is already answered prayer. I know that every life right here and right now is already changing, transforming, and moving to demonstrate the very power and presence of life, of love, of joy, of the divine. It is done, and it is so. And together we say, and so it is.
And so it is.
Namaste and blessings. I will see you soon. Love you.